Hey there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Adam and today we're going to look at some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy Reddit stories, consider liking, subscribing, and maybe hitting that notification bell too. Let's get started with today's first story. Much love everyone. Today's first story comes from I brought my wife's family to watch her cheat on me. We were married for 19 years together, for 23 when she became aloof and distant, finally declaring that our marriage seemed likely over and that she was on a healing path. While I was broken, engaged in career, doting on family music, making furniture, building friends' sports, she was spending increasing amounts of time out of the house to help celebrate a friend's sobriety. My teenage daughter and I were home together without mom many nights. Things got increasingly worse with my wife stating that she was willing to not file for divorce. Until our daughter went off to college, she would occasionally say things like, "What am I thinking? We've built a great life together." Finally, after about 5 months of this, I couldn't take it anymore and read her emails searched on LoveBang. I confronted her. She asked what I found out and I made the mistake of telling her, so she got a new set of lies that conveniently served as a least harmful explanation of my evidence. We only made out once. It was awful. We're just friends. I was crushed having endured this before with my first wife. I told her she had to end contact with this guy, and we spent the weekend rebounding, or so I thought. Things seemed to be on a healing path, but over the next couple of weeks she started sliding back into the bitterness she had inflicted upon me earlier. She began urging me to work on my upper chest. I told her that I commuted by bicycle 20 miles a day and was in very good shape. I said I felt fine about my body. Her boyfriend had some big chest. I would learn later. Then came more night celebrations. I got a phone she had recently upgraded from and did a deep forensics dive. I found very explicit text messages indicating full intimacy. Turns out her lover was an opiate junkie. She met in AA 58 to my 62, bankrupt, estranged from his family, pockfist, poorly educated. I graduated from a top 10 university and was and currently am a technology executive making very good money. I was at least relieved that this reinforced my existing knowledge that it was never about me. I confronted her again. She wanted to know what new information I found. I told her, no, you'll just make up a new set of lies. Tell me everything, or get the F out of my house. Keep in mind, I already know more than you can imagine. It all came spilling out in ugly waves. All the basic intimate moves one is driven to in self-destruction. I insisted she write it all out in detail. I confronted her junkie boyfriend at the third-rate hotel he worked in, blew that crap up his hotel chain, transferred him after I confronted him in the lobby. I told her I would consider the gift of reconciliation, but that she had an enormous amount of work to win back my shattered trust. She seemed grateful for the chance. That was my second mistake. I should have insisted she move out for some period of time. Unbeknownst to me, our daughter had been reading my wife's emails and knew all the tawdry details. A couple weeks after the big D-Day, our daughter got drunk, dropped some pills, and drove a car off the road, miraculously not injuring herself or others. As the car flipped, teetering above a rain-swollen creek, she got a huge DWI, was kicked out of National Honor Society, and shamed at school. My wife decided I had to deal with all this because she couldn't. A couple weeks later, my ex had a complete parental breakdown. She screamed at our daughter, "Fufufu, you're the reason I want to get S-face drunk. You're the reason I want to put an effing bullet in my head." Then she bailed out of the driveway really fast and went somewhere. My daughter and I had no idea where to. Our daughter was extremely upset, as one could imagine. I reassured her that her mother's outburst was completely unacceptable and it was about her mother's cognitive and emotional state and not a reflection on her daughter. My wife eventually returned, remorseful, but minimizing what she had done. Then a transformation occurred where our daughter had been overly angry at her mother. Now, our daughter knew she couldn't be angry at her mother as it could lead to her mother ending things, which in the twisted logic of my wife's tantrum would be our daughter's fault. So she took her otherwise understandable anger out on me. My wife, greatly relieved, fermented our daughter's impulse to be angry at me. My wife encouraged our daughter to see me as the villain and the rightful recipient of her rage. As an alcoholic, my wife had to protect her alcoholic ego, and if it meant emotionally manipulating or abusing her own daughter, no problem. This got worse and worse. My wife began to see herself as the real victim in all of this, which in perverse hindsight she actually was. She declared with great relief that I've forgiven myself. She would stalk me on internet support groups for victims of infidelity, where she would find fodder for new screaming arguments. This was my third mistake, telling her about my support systems, as should be fairly predictable. By now, things completely fell apart a year into our attempted reconciliation. She erupted in a mocking diatribe about my deepest insecurity and sadness. The place every longtime spouse knows about the other and knows to never exploit. She went there hard, imitating me from moments years prior where I had shared my deepest vulnerabilities. She mockingly went into fake tears and exaggerated self-pity while maniacally laughing at my extreme discomfort, but that was my light bulb moment now. I see it was a wonderful and enlightening event if, in this time in which I was offering the gift of an opportunity to win my trust back, she was willing to obliterate all norms of marital decorum to exploit the intimate vulnerabilities I had shared with her. My spouse of some 20 years, in order to vent her misdirected shame, then clearly and irrevocably she could never ever be trusted again. At that moment, I knew I had to be rid of this cancer, but I was now certain I could never trust her again, and I was not willing to be in a relationship with an irredeemably untrustworthy person where I had been wrecked with ambivalence before I had a calm certainty. Now, the divorce settlement was ugly. I ended up paying her $200,000 to keep the house I had already paid for and keep my pension I had worked 20 years for, even though she worked and made a good salary. I had paid all the household bills, mortgage, car payment, taxes, insurance, food, etc., for the entire marriage, not sure where all her money went over the years, likely to her junkie boyfriend. Who knows? The saving grace was the house appraiser. She and her attorney insisted on ending up lowballing the value of the house by several $100,000. That saved me from real financial ruin, and I got to keep my dream house, a custom-made, high-end home perched on a ridge on 3 wooded acres high above a beautiful, environmentally preserved river. It's not a huge home, but has a detached recording studio for my music, a woodworking shop, and is the calmest place I've ever been. 4 years later, things are much better for my daughter and me. Our relationship is strong again, although her scars are still vicious and deep. She got into a very competitive college in New York City, where she's about to graduate. She tells me how much she appreciates that. I never badmouth her mom around her, at least while telling me how stressful it is when her mom curses me and speaks disparagingly about me openly and to anyone who'll listen now. My ex refers to her affair as my cry for help and blames me for not seeing it as such, as she tells her remaining friends. I just slept with this guy a few times and Opie was too selfish to try to understand my pain. In her telling, it was the sleeping with this guy. She will never understand how minor that is compared to the overall context of complete destruction of trust. When I hear these statements through the grapevine, my overwhelming reaction is one of relief. Now I have an amazing girlfriend who is emotionally competent. My daughter likes her too, and that's it. That's my story, and these are the things I learned. What I wish I'd done, a full 180, demanded a postnup as a symbol of her commitment to reconciliation, invited her to move out as soon as I had proof of her cheating. What I am glad I did, hung in there until I had 120, never badmouthed my wife around our daughter, found support systems, confronted her junkie lover, knew this had nothing to do with me, but only my ex's brokenness. Well, thank you, OP, for all this information and all these tips. I really like the one about demanding a postnup as a symbol of commitment to reconciliation because it sounds smart and safe. However, they are all very good pieces of advice. So once again, thank you, OP, and here's wishing you the best for the future with your new girlfriend, enjoying making music in your beloved home and having a really strong relationship with your daughter. And so, on that note, let's move on to the next story. Every once in a while, somebody that gets cheated on thinks about the best way to get revenge on the cheater, and that is the story our next OP is going to tell us. This one is from user It's Me 03. Birthday present to my wife, gather round, boys and girls, because it's time for the story of my cheating ex-wife and how I after now bear with me, as this is a bit of a long one, but F it. So, I had a feeling she was cheating as she set off a lot of red flags, constantly laughing and smiling when texting, saying it was just her mother when I asked, needing to stay late every night after work. When I'd call in, her coworker said she left hours ago. When I asked her what was going on, she'd laugh it off and say it was just something they did to each other at the office all the time. The last straw to where I knew something was definitely up was when she went out to get milk at 11:30 at night and didn't come back till 2 in the morning. Now, if there are any words of wisdom I can pass on to others in all my years of experience, it's if you think your significant other is cheating, hire a private investigator. They're goddamn good at what they do, and they will get some evidence that really helps in the later divorce. Fast forward to her birthday several months down the road. Now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell did I wait months before I confronted her, and did it really need to be on her birthday? The answer to the first question is, I wanted as much evidence as possible to hand off to my lawyer, as well as make arrangements to find a new place to live, etc. Answer to your second question is, of course, it had to be on her birthday. You see, after asking her what she wanted to do on her birthday this year, she was rather insisting on me going out of town with my friends as she just wanted to work anyway and didn't want to be reminded she was aging. So I knew something was up, and after finding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses hidden in my closet, something in me snapped. So I do what any sensible man would have done. I leave and go to my friend's house, pretending like I'm going out of town. While there, I call up her mother, father, sister, and several of her friends. I tell them how I want to give her a big surprise by sneaking into her room with party streamers, kazoos, and a big cake with candles. Sounds fun, right? Well, boy, was it. It's 8:30 in the morning, and I have everyone meet just outside our apartment. We all pile in the elevator, about 8 of us in total, her mother holding the cake and me reminding everyone to be as quiet as they can be. I put my key in and unlock the door. We all sneak in and make our way down the hall towards the bedroom, each holding a kazoo and Mom holding the cake, grinning from ear to ear. Well, as I throw open the door, we all yell surprise, but the surprise was on us. There was my wife with her lover staring at us, wide-eyed, mid-thrust. Mom drops the cake, sister screams, father begins to shout. I pretend like I'm horrified, to which her friends try to push everyone out while yelling at her. Wife, excuse me, ex-wife, is sobbing and screaming, how could you? Her mom was too busy trying to clean off that effing cake from the ground. The sister literally had to push her out of our apartment to get her to stop. The dad, at first, tried chasing the guy but came back to check on everyone. He kind of just looked at me as if to say, I am so sorry, before taking the mom to the car. As for my lovely ex, she literally just blamed everyone in the room. Blamed the parents for coming into our apartment without telling her, the sister for being a bee, didn't understand that one at all, hell, she even blamed the friends for not telling her about the surprise. She didn't try to explain herself to me, just called me name after name and threw stuff at me. It was so surreal. I had this expectation that she would be clutching me and trying to stop me from leaving, telling me how sorry she was. I thought it would be like the movies, but no, there was the woman I had loved for 2 years screaming and hitting me, telling me I had ruined her relationship with this other guy. I guess in her mind she just completely stopped seeing me as her husband and more as just her roommate. Needless to say, it was one of the best birthday presents I have ever given. To be honest, it was funny as hell. At first, I tried to disguise my laughing by pretending I was choking up after so long of being betrayed. I was the one who got to have the last laugh. Plus, since I had hired the private investigator, I was able to prove she was using my money to pay for things for her lover, hotels, dinners, etc. So I did get some compensation for that, though she still did get half of my life savings. Effing B. However, at this time, I was young and just starting out, so the amount I had then is pretty laughable. Now then, reality sets in, your marriage is over, the woman you fell in love with has betrayed you, and the last 2 years of your life were a bit of a waste. In the end, it's not even about the money. I really thought I loved this girl. Why didn't she love me? For the longest time, I wondered what was wrong with me and if anyone would truly be able to love me. Not to mention, I was really close to her dad. Mine left when I was younger, and I never spoke to him since then, so hers kind of took me under his wing, kind of the father I never had. I still call him from time to time, share with him my accomplishments as they come, and even stop by to see him when I get the chance. Regarding my ex, last I heard she had moved in with the guy, or at least I think it was him. She had gotten pregnant and most likely has the kid if they're still together. I really couldn't tell you at this point. I just hope she found some happiness, even if it's not me being the one who gives it to her. Divorce is never fun, boys and girls, and take my advice. When you're young and in love, don't be foolish and run into something. Take some time to really get to know the other person. Wait 3 to 5 years, move in together. I wish someone had just pulled me aside and said, "Man, think about what you're doing. Maybe you should give it some time." Also, another piece of advice, the old saying about you knowing how a girl really is by how she treats her parents? This is absolutely true. She was a total B to her parents. That should have been my first red flag. That being said, also how a person treats a waitress. And that was it. That was Ops revenge, exposing his ex in the act in front of everybody that she loved. So he didn't just get his sweet revenge. He also got a lot of eyewitnesses to her cheating that maybe could have helped him in the divorce. I don't know. What would you guys have done in Ops' shoes? Revenge or not? Okay. Well, we've reached the end of the video. I'm going to turn this one over to you. What do you make of this situation? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, support, and time mean the world to me. So, thank you so much for being part of this. I really appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.